From SF Land, this is Dorking Out, a podcast for people who love to dork out about movies, TV, and everything pop culture.
Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and I can't let Dick control my life. Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
Hey, friend. I'm just baking my Hello Dollies right now.
Will you please send me some?
Oh, yes.
I could use it. Margo and I are dorking out about 1999's Dick. I wonder why Dick is on our mind. The movie, I mean. The movie. Get your mind out of the gutter, people. We're talking about the movie with Kirsten Dunst and Michelle Williams, Dave Foley, Harry Shearer, Will Ferrell, Teri Garr, Jim Breuer, and Dan Hedaya, and a very young Ryan Reynolds.
Who's hilarious, by the way.
He is. Is this one of his first movies? It must be, right?
Yeah, it is.
Like, this is like around like Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, right?
I've never seen that show.
I watched it sometimes and thought he was a big star. Like, he was the star to me. It was an ensemble thing, but he was clearly the star. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Dick.
Yes.
I'm going to laugh through this whole thing. Margo, what's your relationship with Dick?
Very complicated, I have to say.
It's just going to get worse, you guys. It's going to be Dick jokes the whole episode.
Do you remember the first time you saw Dick? Yes, vividly. But actually, I do have a story. Yeah. I think it's an MGM release. I was on the mailing list for MGM movies for a while. I think it was MGM. But anyway, I went to a screening of this movie with a friend of mine, my next door neighbor, Aaron from Best Neighbors.
Yeah.
And we're both geeks for Watergate and love All the President's Men. And it came out in the summer. We didn't know what to expect. We just knew the title. We thought that was funny. And then we saw this movie. And I know that we were sitting next to the reviewer for the New York Daily News because it was so our jam. We were laughing so hard at every bit that he actually wrote in his review, like, the two women next to me really enjoyed this movie because we were cracking up the whole time. It's just such the jelly to my jam. Like, this is what I love. It's 70s. It's silly, but it's making a political point, but it has like just great people in there. It's got really funny lines. It has a fantastic soundtrack.
Yes.
I just love this movie.
The soundtrack is so fun. So fun. It's got like Dancing Queen and Crocodile Rock and Hooked on a Feeling. I wrote down a bunch of the songs. Mr. Big Stuff, Come and Get Your Love, You're So Vain. I love the You're So Vain scene. It's such a fun soundtrack, and it is such a fun movie. I had never seen it, which is super weird, but I like to think it's because it came out in 99, and if you guys go back and like look at movies that came out in 99, and we're going to talk about them at the end of this, there's so many good movies like that came out in 99, and this movie, like, it wasn't like a huge hit. It like came and went. Like, I think people wanted it to be like a She's All That or something, and it just wasn't that kind of movie.
Right.
So it didn't play in the theater very long, so I just kind of missed it. And I just thought it was so fun. It's so fun, and it's really clever at how it, it's about Watergate, but not really. And it's just, I make a really good double feature with All the President's Men, which I super love, which is why I can't believe that I have not seen this movie before. And I really like Kirsten Dunst and Michelle Williams in this movie. They are, everybody drink, adorable. Adorable.
They are completely adorable, and they have such great chemistry together.
Yeah. And
I don't know if they do a lot of comedies now, but they're very funny.
Yeah, I think Kirsten Dunst definitely did, she did like Bring It On and,
that's true.
Other kind of comedies, whereas I think Michelle Williams, not really. Like, I mean, Michelle Williams is like, hey, do you have a part for a wife that's put upon and maybe her child died? You should get Michelle Williams. Like, she's really good at that. She will be nominated for an Oscar for that. Like, she's really good. But she's so funny in this, and I think their friendship is really, really sweet. And I like that in this movie there isn't a scene where they like argue and fight and like go their separate ways, or we're not really friends anymore, or what, you know. I think
right.
all movies do those kind of scenes with when we're talking about friendship, but they always have each other's back. They really love each other. They think the other one is like the coolest, funniest. Like, they love being together. And I just don't think we get those kind of movies with teenage girls very often.
Yeah. That totally support each other.
Yeah.
And they're like the two of the prettiest girls you'll ever see in your life, but they're kind of losers or weirdos in their school. It's a universe where
so
like Kirsten
weird.
Dunst and Michelle Williams can walk around and no guys hit on them.
Right.
And they're just totally into each other. And is it the Bobby
Sherman
fan club? Bobby Sherman fan club, like they're writing a letter to him, and it's Michelle Williams lives in the Watergate apartments,
Yes.
and they happen upon the burglary, and they get caught, and G. Gordon Liddy is there, and there's I mean it's so hilarious. And then a couple of days later, their school goes on a field trip. They're based in D.C. School goes on a field trip to the White House. And the whole thing is the teacher's like, and then we're going to go to McDonald's. And everybody gets like so excited.
I love that it's like, we're going to do the tour of the White House. Meh. But then afterwards, we're going to go to McDonald's. Yay, McDonald's!
Everybody freaks out. And then these two get recognized by Secret Service as the girls that were there. And so they meet the president, and they soon realize, like, these girls didn't really see anything. And President Nixon takes a shine to them, and they become the dog walker to Checkers.
I love that he's like, I have a way with young people. They trust me. Sure they do. Sure, Jan.
And Kirsten Dunst has a brother who's a total stoner, and just the costuming and everything is perfect in this movie. It just reeks of like mid-70s.
How much do you love the clothes?
Oh, it looks like it's all polyester and you'll stink in it in no time. Like the poncho and all that stuff is so heavy, but it's so cute.
I dress like Michelle Williams' character now.
You do.
Until she gets the contact lenses. Then after that, not so much. But before that, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much how I dress now. I didn't realize this, but apparently she's my style icon. Now I know. I love that they befriend Nixon, because of course they do, and then they go home and they're like, guess what happened to us? And nobody cares. And her brother gets drafted, and she's like, well, I guess we'll just ask the president to stop the war, unless you want the war to keep going so you can have your brother's room. It's like, it's just so silly. And I love
so they
it.
decide that they're going to go by and they're going to make the special recipe for Hello Dollies, which are cookies, or they're brownies. They're cookies.
They keep calling them cookies.
Yeah. And the secret ingredient are walnuts, but the walnuts hold his weed. He keeps his weed in the kitchen in the walnut jar.
Who doesn't?
Oh, exactly. So they cook these cookies, and they have weed in them, and they go by and visit Nixon, and Nixon gets hooked on their cookies. So they're coming by the White House all the time to walk Checkers, and it's to the point where like the security at the gate is like, "Are those the cookies?" Yes.
That part made me laugh out loud.
Me too.
Do you have the cookies? Yes. Yes. They're so like fist pump. Yeah. Actually, they sound really good, and I would love one of those cookies right now.
Oh, I could totally use a cookie like that right now. And so the girls, I love this twist that happens. Well, first of all, Michelle Williams is she never knows who her father is, right? Her her father died before she was born. Like she was fed some story that she's not sure what happened to him. And her mother's Teri Garr.
Yeah,
And
I love Teri Garr.
I just love Teri Garr so much. So Michelle Williams, I love this twist. Her character, Arlene Lorenzo, Arlene develops a crush on Nixon. And she starts putting his pictures on her wall. Like she takes a Bobby Sherman and she puts up Richard Nixon.
She like crosses out like Pat Nixon's face and is writing like Mrs. Arlene Nixon in all of her books.
And there's that dream sequence where they're on the beach with the horse. And
I love that dream sequence because it is totally what like a naive girl fantasizes about. It's not.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not like sexual in nature because that would be super gross, but it's, you know, just like riding on a white horse together and they're at the beach and I love you. You're the most beautiful, amazing person ever. And of course leads to one of the first Dick jokes where she just yells like, okay, I love Dick, like really loud. And of course that's when everything gets quiet. So, okay, I love Dick.
So they get
doesn't?
into who doesn't? So the staff is like it's Bob Haldeman. Haldeman is Dave Foley. Jim Breuer is John Dean. That he totally cracks me up. Anna Gasteyer as Rosemary Woods, the secretary, and Harry Shearer as G. Gordon Liddy. And I love Saul Rubinek as Henry.
That's like that was really good casting.
Yeah. I know what no means. Yes. And Ted McGinley. We have Ted McGinley. We talked about him with Revenge of the Nerds.
Forever Young.
He's in this movie. And then I'm trying to think, like, Forever. And Dan Hedaya is playing Richard Nixon. And he does a really great job.
He really does. And I don't know if people will say that he looks like him, but I don't think he looks very much like him, but he doesn't have to. He's really got like the voice and the mannerisms and he's great. And he's just one of those awesome actors, right? That when he shows up, you're like, oh, I love that guy. He's always good.
He's always good. Oh, jinx. And so the girls, like, they start hanging around more and more at the White House, and they notice that there's paper shredding. And my favorite scene is that they're taking Checkers for a walk, and Michelle Williams, Arlene finds that he has a tape recorder in his office. He records all the conversations. So she takes the recorder, and Kirsten Dunst takes Checkers for walks, gives it her space, and she starts talking about how much she loves him. And then she starts singing I Honestly Love You by Olivia Newton-John.
And that's the missing 18 and a half minutes.
18 and a half minutes. Then they go, I love that.
No, go ahead. I interrupted.
And then they go back and listen to it, and that's when they find out he's a bad man.
He's saying awful things, awful racist things. They actually hear him kick the dog on there.
Right.
You know, and then they go and they yell at him, and they say, like, you kick Checkers and you're prejudiced and you have a potty mouth. Like, you know, it's just, and it's so funny because then they run off and that's when they run into Jim Brewer's character and they say, like, if you stay, you're just as bad as he is. And they like run off and then he's all like, and like, that's when he has like his moment of realization of what he's done. And it's just funny. I think people who are like Watergate nerds, there's so much here that it's going to work for you and you're going to super love it. But you don't even have to be like a Watergate nerd. You know, you could just be someone who likes things that are funny because it's actually just funny.
Right.
It is just funny. It's just goofy and funny and light. And I mean, with everything that's going on right now, it's hard not to read stuff into it where you're like, oh boy, you know, where he talks about like, you know, it's all made up by my enemies and I've never obstructed justice. And like, you know, it's playing on the Watergate coverage is on TV and the parents are like, I'm so sick of Watergate. And these are just crooked reporters trying to like bring down the president. And, you know, it's hard not to think about what's going on today, but it's still just such a funny movie, and they're so great in it.
I love the scene where they're talking to the brother about how they give Nixon the pot cookies. And the brother goes, man, no wonder he's so paranoid. It's just like so then we get to the part of the movie. I love everything in this movie. But they go and meet Woodward and Bernstein, and it's Will Ferrell as Woodward. And then all of a sudden Bruce McCulloch just pops up and fluffs his hair. And
Hi, I'm Bernstein. I'm Bernstein, tell me your story.
It's just, and they're like super competitive with each other. They yell at each other.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking funny.
It's a really funny take, like the idea that they just kind of accidentally like stumble upon the story, basically, and it's all handed to them by a couple of 15-year-old girls. It's pretty funny.
And then we get to the scene where the girls have to they need to get evidence, and the dog actually ate their paper, the creep letter. So they go to this house of Dave Foley's character, and they're looking for evidence. And then his son or his son's friend.
It turns out to be his son's friend. And
that's Reynolds. And he's washing a car, and then Kirsten Dunst is just kind of flirting with him. And then she just says, like, do you want to make out? He's like, yeah. And so they just take off into the house and make out. And then Arlene goes in the house, and then she happens to find the tapes, and then they escape, and then they type up their notes. And then, that's when we find out, by the way, that Ted McGinley, he's starting to date Teri Garr. And she can't understand because her mother's, I think, like a bit of a drunk and has been single a long time. And all of a sudden, this very handsome guy is coming around the house. And that's when the girls figure out they're being also watched by by Nixon's people.
I love the surveillance van that's following them around, and it just says the plumbers. The plumbers, and then Washington D.C. Like that's.
And it's like their phones are being tapped, and they have to. So everything's like it's a tight deadline, and they go and give the evidence to Woodward and Bernstein, and they're like, so we're going to keep your names out of the papers, and they're like, oh yeah, to protect us, and like no, it'd be just too embarrassing. Like you can't admit. And then my favorite part is they play You're So Vain, like they're just starting to set up the scene. But then they go into when the newspapers hit, they have the story. They go into I've Seen All Good People by Yes.
Yes.
And it's Woodward and Bernstein just dancing down the aisle at the Washington Post and like popping their fingers at everybody.
Yeah. Making their victory lap.
It's still one of the funniest things I've ever I remember the first time seeing that, just howling with laughter. It's just they're so goofy.
I love when Kirsten Dunst and Ryan Reynolds are making out, and then she basically just starts swinging her hair like all over him, like in his face and stuff, and it's just this like funny little moment. There's no like, ew, get your hair out of my face, or like there's no comment on it. It's just like something a young girl might do because she sees it in movies or in a magazine.
Yeah.
And it just made me laugh really hard.
That, and I like the scene where they give speeches in their high school about their special forces, the teenage forces for the White House. And Kirsten Dunst is like being really excited and talking about hers. And her teacher's just like, he's sitting on the desk cross-legged. It's like, oh, that's awesome. Like they think she's just making it up. And then Michelle Williams is reading her report in these cards, and her foot's just awkwardly going back and forth. And she's just like, it's so cute. They're so cute. Adorable.
They are so cute. Everybody drink. They're adorable.
Everybody drink. Yes.
I just really, really enjoyed this. And I believe this was a recommendation, right? Was this a request we got on Twitter?
I think it was Angela.
Yeah. So thank you, Angela.
It was Angela again.
Good timing, Angela. I wonder why this movie feels so relevant.
Well, the last scene we should say is that they make their outfits. I love their outfits that are made from the American flag. It's so cute. and Nixon goes away on his helicopter.
Spoilers, Margo.
Spoiler alert. And then as he's taking off, he's flying over their home. They have this banner. They unfurl the banner. It just says, "You suck, Dick." and they're pointing at him and waving, and he just gives them the finger, like he's super upset. That always cracks me up.
I love it. Like, they would be able to see him do that from the plane, but that's fine.
That's fine. It's fine. Totally fine. And that always cracks me up. And then it just ends with them rollers. It's like they play Dancing Queen, and they're just roller discoing around the White House.
And it makes me want to roller disco so bad.
Oh, so bad.
And in case everybody's wondering how they get the name Deep Throat, you need to see the movie.
Yeah.
But it is pretty funny. It was such an enjoyable watch. Like I said, I feel like we get these kind of movies about boys, about young boys all the time. Like, we get like a Bill and Ted or like a Super Bad.
Yeah.
Dude, Where's My Car or something. And when we get them with girls, they're never really like silly buddy comedies. It's like Mean Girls or Heathers or, something like that. So this was like a real pleasure to watch. I mean, maybe Romy and Michelle's high school reunion would fall in this, but they're not young girls. They're, late 20s.
I think this is way funnier than Romy and Michelle.
I really like Romy and Michelle.
Got more laughs.
I'll have to revisit, because there's definitely parts that make me laugh in Romy and Michelle, and that's got a great soundtrack too.
It does. It does indeed.
But it doesn't have all the dick jokes.
No.
I'd rather watch Romy and Michelle's high school reunion than Grosse Point Blank, which I believe came out around the same time.
Okay, so I went with a friend to see Grosse Point Blank, 2 friends, and like 2/3 of the way in, they were like bugging me. We want to leave. We want to leave. This is stupid. We want to leave. Like, they were hating the movie. Like, I thought this is not as great as I thought it would be, but they were just hating on it. I don't know. So what was your experience with it?
I remember thinking Minnie Driver was so good at it. Like, I really like John Cusack. I really do. And
me too.
I was overall like pretty disappointed, but I really liked her, and I actually really liked her character a lot. So I think that's what got me through the movie, but it's certainly not one that I've gone back and revisited. But I know that it has like its hardcore fans. So maybe we should put it on the list, and then we could destroy some people's childhoods.
Yes.
Sorry, Grosse Point Blank fans.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. It's not good. Oh, do we have anything else to say about Dick?
I think if you haven't seen it, see it. It's super, super enjoyable. It's so funny. It's so sweet. It's hilarious.
It is. Do you know, it's directed by the same guy who did The Craft and Threesome. Did you ever see Threesome?
Okay, wait, who's in Threesome?
It's Josh Charles, Laura Flynn Boyle, and Stephen Baldwin.
Oh, God, that movie's messed up.
It played at my theater. That's why I saw it.
Oh, it's so messed up, isn't it?
I don't recall liking it. Let me just say that. No. I would need to watch it again. But I remember not liking it, and I remember it kind of... But it goes there, so I guess that's something. It lives up to its title.
Yeah, it does go there, but it's so strange. It's like another case of like, this person's gay. Oh no, really?
Oh, maybe we could make him straight by having sex with him all together.
Oh God, that scene.
I'd rather watch The Craft. The Craft is awesome.
I love The Craft.
Yeah, that's because you're smart, and The Craft is awesome. Do you want to hear about some of the other 1999 movies?
I certainly do.
This is a good list. So I didn't do top 10s or anything. I just went through and started picking like good movies. So Being John Malkovich. Good one. Three Kings.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Oh, I think that one's going to hold up. I think it's probably even better now. The Blair Witch Project.
Oh, yeah.
which scared the shit out of me when I saw it in the theater. I wasn't one of those people that thought it was real, but it still really scared the shit out of me. Did you see it in the theater?
Oh, yeah, of course I
Were
did.
you surrounded by people who thought it was real?
No,
Okay, I
but
was.
I was surrounded by people who were freaked out by it. Oh, yeah, no, they were all freaked out by it. And I think it came out the same time as Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, yeah, that's on
And
the list too.
we'll talk about that someday.
Yeah. Um, there were a bunch of people around me in the theater that thought it was a real documentary.
People are dumb.
They really are. And they were like, one woman was like hyperventilating at the end. She was like, oh my God, so scary. I can't believe that happened. And I'm like, it didn't happen. Like, psst, it's not real. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, lady. Oh, that's cute. Magnolia came out in 99. Toy Story 2, which
Yep.
might be a perfect animated movie. I've watched it maybe 3,000 times because my son is into it, and it's really good. American Pie. I think.
Oh gosh, I haven't seen that in forever.
I think part of the reason Dick didn't connect the way it should have is probably because of things like American Pie, where people were just kind of, when we're talking about teenagers, we want it to be these kind of gross sex comedies or whatever. And Dick is not that, even with a name like Dick. Sorry.
No, it's not raunchy. No.
The Sixth Sense.
Oh, yeah.
Boys Don't Cry. Sad.
Wow.
Oh, I'm going to cry. 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, my God.
South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Oh, my God. It's so fucking funny. So funny. I think about that movie quite often because it's just funny as hell. Virgin Suicides.
Oh, yeah, Kirsten Dunst again.
Yep, and She's All That and Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, okay. And then do you want to hear the top songs?
I always do.
Okay. So this is from August of 99. Number 5, Unpretty by TLC.
Mm-hmm.
Genie in a Bottle, Christina Aguilera.
That song is catchy as hell.
I love that song.
Now it's going to be stuck in my
Bills,
head.
Bills. Sorry. Bills by Destiny's Child. Bailamos by Enrique Iglesias. And number 1, If You Had My Love, Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, yeah. This is when she was
just launching.
Just getting into the singing thing. So that means Out of Sight might have been the year before.
Yes.
Or 2 years before. Fucking love Out of Sight. We should put that on the
list.
list.
Such a good movie. Totally. That's such a good movie. And that's a good book, too.
Yeah. That movie's sexy. So sexy.
Yes, it is.
What else are you dorking out about, Margo?
Well, I finally caught up with Catastrophe. It's the Amazon series with Rob Delaney and Sharon Horgan. And it's the season they came back. Carrie Fisher played his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And, she filmed her last scenes. That was last season. And so here they talk about, he goes back to Boston and for his mother's funeral. And it's like it's sad and hilarious at the same time. And it's the last season. It's their final season. And it was a really nice way to end it. And I super enjoyed it. And I just finished watching that this weekend.
I have watched the first season. So I have some catching up to do, but I really like the first season.
Yeah, they're really good. They have a lot of chemistry and they're funny.
And it's so easy to watch and it's real short, right? They're like 22 minutes or something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm into it. I watched a couple of things. I watched The Highwaymen on Netflix.
Oh, I saw that too.
Which was...
what did you think?
I thought it was just okay. And the reason I only thought it was okay was because there's actually some, I guess it balances out because there's some really good stuff in there where I was like, that's awesome. That's interesting. That's cool. I like Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner a lot. So I liked it when they were on. But also the movie was long AF. It felt so
boring.
long. right?
It was it was super boring. You have the Bonnie and Clyde story without Bonnie and Clyde. Like they're kind of the most interesting people there. I mean, I feel bad because the guy that played the lawman in the 1967 movie,
Mm-hmm.
they make fun of him, and his family was furious the way
Yeah.
they made him look like he was a buffoon, and that wasn't true at all.
Right.
So they wanted to do the true story, but the true story is like they drove around a lot in Texas, and
Yeah.
you know didn't catch up with them for a while, and then when they did, they just killed them. And you don't feel anything for Bonnie and Clyde because you never get to know them. You just you're supposed to hate them because they're terrible people. Let me be
Right.
clear, they're not good people, but you just it's almost like there's no satisfaction with it because they're just you don't care about them.
Yeah. That's why I feel like, because there's just these parts that I really, really enjoyed. But like, if we could have just got, like, if they just could have explored it a little bit more about maybe why people were super into them,
Yeah.
like, and they kind of try it, but then they like ditch that idea. They kind of throw it out there where it's like, they're like Robin Hood. They don't steal from the poor. They only steal from the banks and fuck the banks or whatever. And then Kevin Costner like beats the shit out of someone and is like, they kill cops or whatever. And then that idea's kind of gone. Like we don't see it again. And there's just a lot of stuff at the end that really plays up that like Bonnie and Clyde were like a big deal to people, but they didn't like earn that stuff. Even though I know it's true, but like they didn't explore it in the movie the way I wanted to, and I feel like it was a bit of a waste of some really good performances. I think they needed you're right. They needed to like boost up the Bonnie and Clyde part just a little bit more.
I should have been scared of them, or I should have been upset. They should have been upsetting to me or scary to me or something. And they give them no lines. So the two actors that play them only speak a couple of lines,
right?
And they're just shown in periphery. So when they finally do get them, it just was not very satisfactory.
Yeah, do you think maybe they were afraid of like the shadow, the shadow of like Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty in those roles is so long that maybe they were afraid of like having someone compete with that, or I don't know.
Every once in a while they try to redo that story. Every 10 years or 10, 15 years or so, they try to redo the Bonnie and Clyde story. It never works.
Yeah. I need a good Bonnie and Clyde documentary. Is there one already out there?
You do, because the real story is interesting. Oh, I'm sure. Go to YouTube.
Yeah, I'll find something.
Everything's on YouTube.
So the other thing I watched on Netflix was the new Amy Schumer special. And
what did you think of it?
I actually thought it was really funny, and it talks about a couple of things that like are close to home to me. So when I was pregnant, she does a lot about her pregnancy and how like stupid it is that like women will get like super precious when they're pregnant and stuff like that. I can really, really relate to that because when I was pregnant, I was constantly like, people were like, you don't seem very happy. And I'm like, I'm fucking sick all the time. Like, I'm going to barf all over you right now. Shut the fuck up. Like, keep your judgment to yourself. Like, the idea that I wasn't acting precious enough. So when she's talking about that stuff, I was like, yes, thank you. Like, everyone wants pregnant women to be like a certain kind of way, and just we're not women because we're all human beings and we're different. So I really, really like that. And I really like when she talked about her husband being diagnosed on the spectrum. And that really clicks for me. My son is autistic, and she talks about like her husband is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, and that normally it used to be what they called Asperger's syndrome, but now it's just autism spectrum disorder. And they list all these things that are like the signs of that. So it's like he doesn't give a shit about social norms, and he just looks at the world differently, or all these things that she was like, well, those are the things I love about him the most.
Aww.
And I just thought it was really, really sweet. Like he's incapable of lying. Like he can't lie. And I'm like, oh, it made me feel better. It like warms my heart, as a mother of an autistic son. Like that's what we want, right? We want people to it's part of like, and right now it's Autism Acceptance Month, and so I felt like the special was kind of good timing where we should all be talking about these things. And she tells jokes about it too, and I think that that's important too. And it's just about like dispelling the idea that somehow autism is a disease that we should be afraid of, or, you know, it's not that sort of thing. And I was glad that she did that, and I really loved that she, you know, talks about him so lovingly, and but then also like makes jokes, and I thought the special was really funny.
I'm gonna go check that out. Does she mention Jenny McCarthy?
No, she does
okay.
not, and I would be fine with that if she did, because fuck Jenny McCarthy. Fuck her forever. I that's like a whole other rant that I could
we'll do that other time. Yeah,
I can't comprehend that she even has a fucking career. It boggles my mind. I don't know how you feel about Jenny McCarthy, but I can't comprehend that she has a career.
It's shocking. I remember she was on Oprah and she spread this nonsense.
Yes.
And Oprah just let her talk and talk and talk. And I thought that was just dumb. And then there was a time she was on CNN, and she was on CNN with two doctors. And the two doctors were talking about vaccines and how safe they are. Mm-hmm. And Jenny McCarthy at one point just looks at one of them and says, "You know what? Bullshit. You're lying." And live on telling a doctor, somebody puts their life to science, is trying to save lives, trying to help people. And she got just as much credibility as them.
That is it. And it boggles my fucking mind that anyone would take medical advice from, I'll totally ignore this doctor and take the medical advice of the chick who used to co-host Singled Out. Fuck you. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Oh my God. She makes me so angry. And every year she co-hosts like the New Year's Eve special on like ABC or whatever. And I'm like, fuck you, ABC, for even like pretending that she should be there, and she should be shunned.
Well, no, what she says now, her whole thing now is that she says, "Oh, I'm not against vaccines. I just want safe vaccines." And it's such a bullshit line, because then people cherry pick the vaccines they'll get for their kids. Right. And creating more problems.
Thanks for the measles, asshole.
Oh, no shit. Well, our own president isn't for vaccines either.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry to end the show on like an angry note.
I know, on an angry rant. I know. When I was watching
Let's talk about Leaving Neverland again.
Yeah, exactly. It's just to cheer ourselves up. We don't feel as much despair. Yeah, when I was watching Dick, I'm like, I remember 1999. I was happy then. I didn't worry about things. This seemed really politically crazy, right? I mean, it's like Watergate seemed so terrifying, and oh God, thank God we'll never be in that pickle again.
Right.
And then here we are.
Do you think they will ever make like a Trump version of this movie, or do you think it's just too awful to ever be funny?
If the world still exists, like 50 years from now, if we haven't blown ourselves up, or the sun doesn't like break through and fry us.
If we're not all underwater.
Right. If we're not like swimming, like wearing scuba gear everywhere we go. I totally think, but it's going to take a few decades. I think it's just not funny now.
No, it's super not funny.
Because the people who don't agree with him are not taking any jokes about it. Because I even get like when Saturday Night Live puts him on, even now, I'm just sort of like, ugh, I have this asshole every day.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need it here. But the people who like him really love him, and they don't want to hear anything. It's like they don't want to hear any jokes. Right. They're definitely loyal. So it's going to take a few decades.
Yeah. I just don't get it, but okay.
Right. No kidding.
Where can people find you on the internet, Margo?
The best place to find me on social media is Twitter and Instagram, and that's Brooklyn Fit Chick. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com.
And you can find me on Twitter at The Sonia Show. That's Sonia with an I. And on my blog, thesoniashow.com. And you can find Dorking Out. You could dork out everywhere at dorkingout.com. And we're on Twitter and Facebook at Dorking Out Show. And talking about Dick was super fun. I love Dick.
And hello, dollies.
I love Hello Dollies and Dick.